Bonjour et bienvenue sur ma chaîne. Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Cindy. In this lesson, you're going to learn about French stressed pronouns, pronoun disjoint. So first things first, what are stressed pronouns? Stressed pronouns, also known as disjunctive or tonic pronouns, are pronouns used to emphasize a noun or another pronoun referring to a person. So here are the stressed pronouns in French: moi, toi, lui, elle, soi, nous, vous, eux, elle. So as you can see, French stressed pronouns can translate into their English equivalent, which are me, you, him, her, oneself, us, you, them. At other times you'll need to use an English personal pronoun in order to translate French stressed pronouns, in which case moi, toi, lui, elle, nous, vous, eux, elle would translate to I, you, he, she, we, you, or they. You'll learn why that is in a second. So, when are stressed pronouns used? French and English stressed pronouns are often used in similar ways and for similar purposes. However, they are used for a wider variety of purposes in French. In cases where you'd need a stressed pronoun in French but not in English, the English translation would require either a personal pronoun or a different structure altogether. What this means is that in cases where you'd need a stressed pronoun in French but not in English, word-for-word translation would not work, and because of that, it's very important for you to remember all 10 instances in which you need to use a stressed pronoun in French. So the first instance in which you need to use a stressed pronoun in French is to emphasize the subject. For example, cette année, je ne fais rien pour la Saint-Valentin. This year, I'm not doing anything for Valentine's Day. Moi, je vais au cinéma avec mon chéri. I'm going to the cinema with my boyfriend. As you can see, moi emphasizes the subject je. Je ne sais pas trop quoi faire, moi. I don't really know what to do. Again, moi emphasizes the subject je, and although not used in standard English, would literally translate to me. The second instance in which you need to use a stressed pronoun in French is in compound subjects or objects. For example, ma sœur et moi aimons partir en vacances ensemble. My sister and I like going on holiday together. Lui et moi sommes dans la même équipe. He and I are in the same team. So notice that while in English you would need to use personal pronouns in compound subjects or objects, in French you need to use stressed pronouns. So that is why, although the literal translation for moi is me, in those instances, moi translates to I. Similarly, lui literally means him, but in the case of compound subjects, it translates to he. The third instance in which you need to use stressed pronouns in French is after prepositions, such as, for example, avec, pour, sont, and chez. For example, nous allons partir sans toi. We're going to leave without you. Je ferai n'importe quoi pour elle. I would do anything for her. You also need to use stressed pronouns after c'est and ce sont. For example, c'est toi qui fais à manger ce soir. You're the one who's cooking tonight. Ce sont eux qui ont gagné au loto. They're the ones who won the lotto. Note that c'est toi qui and ce sont eux qui literally translate to it is you who and it is them who, but in English, a completely different structure is required. That is, you're the one who and they're the ones who. Another case in which you need to use stressed pronouns in French is after que in comparisons. For example, elle est plus jeune que moi, she is younger than me, or she is younger than I am. Ils sont moins sociables que nous, they're less sociable than us, or they're less sociable than we are. Note that although there are two possible ways of saying the same thing in English here, there is only one possible way of saying it in French. That is by using stressed pronouns. The sixth instance in which you need to use a stressed pronoun is when the pronoun has no verb. This is very common in short questions and answers. For example, je vais bien et toi? I'm fine and you? Qui veut venir avec moi? Moi. Who wants to come with me? Me. Or I do. So as you can see, there is no verb following toi or moi, meaning that the pronoun has no verb. So we need to use a stressed pronoun in those instances. You also need to use stressed pronouns with words of emphasis, such as aussi, meaning too or as well, non plus, meaning neither or either, seul, meaning alone, and surtout, meaning especially. So, for example, lui seul peut le faire, he alone can do it. Moi non plus, je n'aime pas perdre. I don't like losing either. In the second example, as well as moi being used with non plus, you could also say that it emphasizes the subject je, which, if you remember, was the number one instance in which you need to use a stressed pronoun. Again, notice that we've used a personal pronoun to translate the stressed pronoun in the first example, and that in the second example, moi wasn't translated at all. This is because stressed pronouns, or any pronoun at all, are not usually used in English to emphasize the subject. You also need to use stressed pronouns with même to reinforce the subject. For example, je préfère le faire moi-même, I prefer doing it myself. Il a fait ses devoirs lui-même, he did his homework himself. Another case in which you need to use a stressed pronoun is when the pronoun is the object of the negatives ni, and ne, que. Ni meaning neither nor, and ne, que meaning only. For example, ni lui ni elle ne savent parler français. Neither he nor she can speak French. Je ne peux faire confiance qu'à toi. You're the only one I can trust. Again, in those instances, you would need the personal pronouns in English, but in French, you need the stressed pronouns. Also notice that the second example couldn't be translated word for word, so a different structure had to be used. Je ne peux faire confiance qu'à toi literally means I can trust only you. So in order for this sentence to sound like proper English, you'd need to reorder the words. And last but not least, you also need to use stressed pronouns after verbs not allowing preceding indirect object pronouns, such as, for example, avoir affaire à, être à, faire attention à, penser à. If you need to remind yourself of the verbs that don't allow a preceding indirect object pronoun, or if you need to revise about indirect object pronouns, feel free to watch my lesson on the subject. The link is in the description. But don't worry too much, there are only a few verbs that don't allow preceding indirect object pronouns. So, for example, ils vont avoir affaire à moi s'ils continuent. They'll have to deal with me if they carry on. Fais attention à elle, d'accord? Pay attention to her, okay? Notice that verbs that don't allow preceding indirect object pronouns are all followed by the preposition a. However, bear in mind that this does not mean that all verbs followed by the preposition a are verbs that don't allow preceding indirect object pronouns, because in fact, many do. All this means is that when a verb is followed by the preposition a, there is a small chance that you need to use a stressed pronoun after it. But if the verb is not followed by the preposition a, then you won't need to use a stressed pronoun after it. I hope you found this lesson useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and share it. And if you still have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments. That's what the comments are for. If you're new to my channel, I'd love to have you subscribe. I upload new videos regularly. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, all the links are in the description. Thanks for watching. Bye!